Never leave home. So that was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we should give her another, all of us. It's a hard act to follow. We're going to talk about a subject matter that I hear a lot as I travel. I try to remember questions that people ask as I travel around. One of the most common questions is, seriously, do I need a guru? Really? Why would somebody ask that? I lost my place. Huh? Why would somebody? Yes?
One of the reasons would be they want to do it all by themselves.
Exactly.
I'm afraid of being misled.
Afraid of being misled. That's another good reason. You know? Why would somebody be afraid of being misled?
Well,
There's lots of stories.
we've experienced it before.
We've seen it happen.
And we don't want it to happen again. Not to me, anyway.
Yeah, happened to somebody that I know. I'd rather it happen to him than me.
That's right.
You know, why me?
Yeah.
So, and why do it yourself? Because if I do it myself, I can do it my way. And I can do it my way. See? So, I think it was last week, or somewhere last week, it might have been at Dr. Bach's house, we were talking about a subject similar to this, and I was talking about, if somebody could make a big fortune, I think, at least in the Western world, if they had, you see like Home Depot for do-it-yourself, you could have spiritual depot, where you go and you get little pieces of different philosophies and just patchwork them all together, and you've got your own thing. So if you're doing it your way, you know it's your way, and you can take some pride in saying, hey, I did it my way. Like Frank Sinatra, he did it his way.
And if it goes awry, then it's my fault.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, people don't want to take blame. It's hard for us to take blame. So it's better to have somebody else to blame it on. So, but let's see what Krishna says. I'm going to be reading from Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 16th, 17th, and 18th verses. Okay? And if I'm not reading, stop me at any time with a question or a comment. Okay? Any hecklers here? He's like, hey, our resident heckler. Hare Krishna, how are you? Good. It is good to see you. Okay, I'm going to read just the English because I've got a lot of readings. And we only have 22 minutes. Okay, so let's speed this up. Krishna says, O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. You see? 4, Krishna says these are all pious. Somebody comes to me and he doesn't want me. He wants money. He wants my money. You see? Give me this. Oh, Lord, give me that. Now, some people may say, well, that doesn't sound like pure devotional service. Well, it's really not. But it is considered by Krishna to be pious if you approach me just because you're distressed, well, Lord, I need help. The cyclone blew my house away. Please help me. Krishna says, oh, very good. Or if I just want money, I have money, but I want more. So I'm going to God because he's got so much. So he says, oh, okay, very good. Or if I'm just inquisitive, I'm just kind of curious, what are you all about? See? Or if I really want to find him. You see, those are the four kinds of pious people who approach Krishna. He says they're all pious. And it's okay because they will make advancement by going to God to ask him for, give me my daily bread. That's pious. It'll take you towards God. You start to depend on him and develop a relationship. And ultimately will lead you to pure devotional service. You see? So, but ultimately it will take you, it will advance you. All right? So Krishna's saying if you're pious, you can approach me in one of these four ways. In the 17th verse, Krishna says, of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. Okay, so now we're talking about someone of these people who approach Krishna. He says, of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is engaged in pure devotional service is the best. So, if I'm approaching Krishna, and I simply am looking for this or that, I need something for that, and I find someone who's very advanced, I say, oh, you seem to be very pure in your devotion. You're not tinged with material desire. I think you might be able to help me because you're already where I want to go. Does that make any sense? So instead of me going up the steps, I might take the elevator. Nothing wrong with that. Makes sense? So Krishna continues. Of these devotees who are undoubtedly all of these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like myself. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain the highest and most perfect goal. So Krishna says, of all of these devotees, who are all magnanimous to me, even people who just want money, he who is situated in knowledge of me, he considers to be just like him. In other words, you, my pure devotee, you are just like me. You see? So if we find someone who is just like, according to God, just like the God that we're trying to achieve, then why don't we grab hold of his coattails and let him pull us along? Makes sense, huh? Or does it make more sense to try to do it ourselves? What is the advantage after that? If you find someone like that, I'm not saying that the world is full of people. The world isn't full of people like that. But if you find someone who is attached to his guru, a bona fide guru, which means he's attached to his bona fide guru, who's attached to his bona fide guru, all the way back to Krishna himself, then you found a portal, an opening, to leave this material world. You see? Very quickly. Those who have it can give it to you. Rather than me just looking for it all by myself and try to figure out this and try to figure out that. You see? Or what we see, unfortunately, is that sometimes people try to take a piece of this philosophy and a piece of that philosophy, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and put it all together. You see? Why? I used an analogy recently that's like if you needed to go from here to Los Angeles, you need to drive across the desert, but you need a new car. Your car's not going to make it, so you need a car. And I say, well, I've got a car for you. Check it out. Well, what kind of car is it? Oh, well, it's got a Dodge body, and part of the engine is Toyota. I've got Nissan pistons and Toyota, and I've got valves from a Chevy, a transmission from a Ford. Most of the doors are Dodge, but one of them is something else, you see, Volvo. You know, and I've got all these different tires, but they're all good. All of the parts are bona fide. Does it sound like something you want? Does it sound like a good car, a good vehicle to take you from here to Los Angeles?
Could be an adventure.
It'd be an adventure, that's for sure. Better have AAA. So, why then, when we think about it, and I always tell people, try to get real with yourself. So your own self be true. You know, we can fib to others, whatever, but at least let's be honest with ourselves. If I take a little piece of that philosophy and a little piece of that philosophy, a little piece of that philosophy, all on my own, what makes me think that it's going to get me anywhere? If I take a little bit, what are the philosophies? Philosophies are paths. They're paths that lead somewhere. So if I take a little bit of Highway 70, a little bit of Interstate 10, and a little bit of Interstate 19, and a little bit of this, I'm just wandering around, you see. So we need to pick a destination. What is it that you want before you know which path you're going to take? People who say, well, I have so many different philosophies I subscribe to. Right away, what you've just told me, if I pay attention, I like to try to analyze what people say. What you just told me is you don't have a destination. You don't know where you're going. You're taking a whole lot of different paths. This is logic. You don't know where you're going. You don't have a destiny. I'm going to take all these different paths because, heck, it ought to be good. It shouldn't take me anywhere bad. That's not such bad thinking. At least it won't take me anywhere bad. But I don't know where to go. Why? Why don't I know where to go? I haven't given any thought. Or I don't know what my choices are. I don't know what my choices are. You know, it's like people who go into a travel agent. I like this analogy. I use it a lot. You go into a travel agent. You say, I want to go on vacation. What's one of the first things he's going to say? Where? Where do you want to go? Oh, I don't know. I thought you would tell me. Well, I got to know what you want. What do you want? Do you want sun and beach? You could go to Hawaii, or you could go, you know, if you want skiing and snow, you could go to Vail. You know, we've got so many. Big city life, you can go to New York. You know, what appeals to you. So once you realize what's available, you might say, you know what, I kind of like big city, you know, or I like to gamble, so you go to Las Vegas. See, at least you figure out what it is you want. Then you can figure out where you want to go. So what do we want from spiritual life? What's this whole spiritual pursuit supposed to do for us anyway? One of the choices is a loving, eternal relationship with the Supreme. That's one of the choices. That's the one we're pushing. We're pushing it because we think it's really great. Now you could say, I don't know if I want that. I don't want to be that close. You know, I don't want a God that I would wrap my arms around and hug. I'm not looking to get that warm and fuzzy. You know, I would rather that God be across town, you know, down the street, across town. And in other words, I really like His kingdom, you know. And I want all of His kingdom that I can get. But I want His kingdom without Him. I'm not interested in Him so much as I am His stuff. You see, I want the stuff He has. It's a nice place to live. You see, so and that's okay if that's what you want. If you want the kingdom of God without God, you can go for that. You see, you may say, look, you know, a warm and fuzzy, loving God. I don't really need that. I can worship a God that's just light. You know, I don't need to love anybody. And I don't need anybody to love me. I don't need a loving exchange. You see? I just want the peace, the shunting of being in the light. And if that's your heart and you feel that way, go for it. There are ways to achieve that. They're very difficult. You can't just chant a little bit of Om and get that. It's very difficult. Ashtanga yoga is extremely difficult to perform, especially in this age. It's extremely difficult. Much more difficult than about anything you can think of if you do it properly. If you're serious about getting there. But it's achievable. You can do it. But if you decide, no, I really think that at some time I would really like to have a loving relationship with the Supreme. I would like to hold his hand. I would like to be with him. I've got a million questions to ask him. You see. I want to hear the sound of his voice. I want to feel the touch of his caress. You see. I want to feel him. I want to experience him. Then we're talking bhakti. You approach this loving Krishna. This we call Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is the personality of Godhead that you love. You exchange love with. You see? Which is basically what we're all attracted to if we're honest with ourselves. You see, we may be a little bit afraid, so therefore I'd rather he was a light and far away. Because I'm not so sure about this guy. I know he's real powerful. You know, you don't want to make powerful people angry. You know, you don't tug on Superman's cape, really. So, if you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't want to get God angry at you. You know, so, but if I get to know him more and more, if I can transcend the fear of this all-powerful, all-pervasive entity, and find out that he's so sweet and loving. He is the source of love. He's the very source of sweetness. You see. Then as I get to see him in that way, the fear subsides as the love increases. We were talking about this morning. I had the great fortune to go visit Father Jorge's church, St. Michael's, and we're talking to some really wonderful people. Great place. I got to go there every time I come. Fantastic. We met for a long time after Mass. And great questions. And we were talking about this very thing, that as your love for God increases, your fear decreases. As your fear increases, your love decreases. Love and fear don't go well together. So, we, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we're trying to let the world know that there is a way that you can approach God in a loving way, as his loving servant. And sometimes people say, well, stop right there. Oh, I don't want to be anybody's servant. You know, I don't want to serve. Now we're back to the light. I don't have to serve the light. You know? All right, what do I want? Do I want love? Or not having to serve? Not having to serve love? Jeez, I'm confused. I think I want to go to happy hour and think about this later. This is confusing stuff. I'm getting a headache already. Jeez, God is such a complicated guy. My relationship with him is complicated. Talk about complicated relationships. Whoa. But he is a servitor also. He's been serving you for eternity. He's always served you. Just like a parent serves a child. The parent provides everything for the child. A place to live, food to eat. Everything the child needs is provided by the loving parent. You see. So, an exchange of servitude, when one person serves one person and that person serves back in reciprocation, this is what lovers do. You see. Lovers, they exchange. They exchange love. They exchange servitude. When you love somebody, you really want to do something for them. You see. And when somebody does something for you in love and service, you really want to reciprocate. God is the supreme, He's also the supreme reciprocator. You see, we may offer our service in such a way that we're not expecting anything in return. You see, we don't want anything. We want the pleasure of making him smile, making him happy. You see, but Krishna is so touched by our love that he feels, I must do something for you. You see, we don't want or expect anything from him. Just the privilege of offering him some loving service. You see. But he says, oh, no, you're not going to get away with that. Because I'm the supreme lover. So we have to be prepared to accept his love. It's not a one-sided. Love is not one-sided. If you have love and it's all one-sided, you need to redefine love. Love is reciprocal. Does that make any sense? Now we've got maybe 5 minutes for questions, comments, heckles. Oh. Okay, heckle. Which one are you, Heckle or Jekyll?
Heckle.
Okay.
I guess I'd like to mention the story of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvas Muni.
Yeah.
Durvas Muni committed an offense against Ambarish Maharaj. And when he saw the Sudarshan disc coming after him, he went to Brahma, and then he went to Shiva, and then he went to Vishnu. And they all said they couldn't help him. And that he would have to go back to the person he offended because that person was a God-realized soul or pure devotee. So the idea is that you're not supposed to offend the spiritual master, and the only way to apologize is to go to that person, that spiritual master, and apologize.
Yeah. And
like I said before, I'm a disciple of Narayana Maharaj, and among the devotees who've gone to Narayana Maharaj are many Prabhupada disciples who accept both Prabhupada and Narayana Maharaj.
uh-huh.
There's others that don't accept Narayana Maharaj. And what's a good reason for that?
First, I'm confused. So I don't get it. What's this guy talking about?
Narayan Maharaj is a spiritual master. He's a guru.
Some story about some king.
There was a story about someone who offended a saintly personality. And he was cursed, and he tried to get Krishna to relieve the curse. And he said, no, you have to go back and apologize to him. And that led us to the part where he says that, the question was, why would somebody,
Reject him.
reject it?
If he's a true spiritual master.
Okay. Let's say that I'm married. I have a wife and I'm committed to her. And some other lady says, hey, I want to be your wife too. And I say, oh, you're very lovely, you're very charming, and you'd be a wonderful, perfect wife. But I'm already committed.
But Lord Chaitanya had 2 gurus.
No, but there's no way that we have to take another. I'm so committed that I'm just committed. That's a good answer. That's a legitimate answer. Yes, I recognize you are guru. You see, first of all, Narayan Maharaj is such a nice devotee that he would never try to interfere with the relationship that someone has with their guru. He's not that low class, is he? He's not like that. Why would he do that? That would be
teaching is accept what's favorable to Krishna consciousness and reject what's unfavorable to Krishna consciousness.
Right. So what's favorable, from what we've been taught from Srila Prabhupada, is to surrender and follow the instructions of the Guru, to get in with the mood of the Guru. Figure out the mood of the Guru. In other words, the mood, that means that you're not necessarily following everything he tells you to do. You're going to do that. But when you get in line with the mood of the Guru, then you know that you're traveling in a direction that he's pointed you.
Yes, but that means you will be accepting, not rejecting.
Exactly, we've accepted Guru. Yes, Prabhupada. Yes, I will. Prabhupada says, I want you to distribute books, and I want you to travel and preach, and I want you to open temples. And everyone says, yes, Prabhupada. So what's the defect?
Like I said, Lord Chaitanya had two gurus. He had Ishvara Puri and Keshava Bharat. So he set the example that you can't have more. There's no need to not accept more than one.
Can is the operative word.
Yeah, but 1 + 1 is greater, 2 is greater than 1. It's twice as good.
But that's not the instructions that Prabhupada gave us.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's not. It is not. He never told us, go find another guru when I leave. You need as many gurus as you want. No, he never, ever said that. I promise you.
The teaching is always associate with advanced devotees. So even if you don't want him as a guru, you'd associate with him because he's an advanced devotee. What's the other teaching? Always look favorably upon the other devotees.
Well, we do that. We do that. And, you're surrounded by advanced devotees. We have advanced devotees here. We have others in the movement. They're all over the world.
Well, when you talk about spiritual master or pure devotee, we're talking about an eternally liberated soul, not a conditioned soul. Most of us are conditioned souls. Most of the people in this material world are conditioned,
Yeah,
not spiritual.
but there are many who have taken the medicine and become well. And they're pure. There are many. So, it's difficult for me to give you an answer because, and it's probably my failure. I can't see, the reason. I can't see the reason for your question, first of all, and I can't see that there's a need. That we need, in other words, Prabhupada gave us everything, and he told us many, many times, I have given you everything. I have given you everything. In other words, the mood of Prabhupada was very, very clear. And so we're going in a direction. And so all glories to Narayan Maharaj and all pure devotees, all glories. Narayan Maharaj ki! Okay. See? But for me to just move to India and join his group, Prabhupada would say, what are you doing, you fool? I've given you service. Do your service. Yes, Mother.
The guru, the word itself means one who enlightens you or gives you. Yeah, so it's only the one person that you can really do, who has given you that Brahma Vidya or that great knowledge to realize your true nature, who has given you the way to liberation.
Exactly.
So if you have that from your guru, you do not need another guru. That guru
Exactly.
is it.
Guru is one.
One.
You have one Diksha Guru.
Right.
Diksha Guru is many. You can have many.
Many teachers for
Many.
various things
Many
in life.
teachers.
But the one who illumines your mind is your real guru,
Exactly.
and it's only one.
But all of your shikshas, and you can have many. As many, the more the better. The more the better, really. But all of your shikshas should be aligned perfectly with the Diksha Guru. Therefore, they can give you the teachings of the Diksha Guru. Because remember, as I said, choose a destination. We want Krishna prema. We want pure love of Godhead. Prabhupada has given us a path. Lord Chaitanya has given us this path. We know the destination. We've got the path. And so here we go. And so other gurus, they also are pointing in that direction, and everyone is going. So we'll see you up there when we go back home, back to Godhead. So
I prefer when you were telling us the used car stories. I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
yeah, it's a question that really belongs outside of Bhagavad Gita class and Sunday Fuse lecture. It's something that someone would normally ask personally in private. But some people, for whatever reason, their hearts are on fire about whatever. And they want to air it out in public and get attention. And that's what we're dealing with. So. but I hope it didn't take from your enjoying the discussion of Krishna
Kind
consciousness.
of did.
Yeah.
It's
All right, we won't.
fun.
Then, okay, this is a good example. We won't do it anymore. So from now on, we want to have these kind of discussions. It's just you and me, okay? Let's do it for the benefit of everyone. And I know you care for everyone. Yeah. All right, very quickly, yeah.
I just came in towards the end. I thought that I would be dancing, but I was happy to hear you speak instead. And I like the idea of giving with love and also the receiving as well, that we receive love, and
Their loving exchange
I like
enlightens us. It turns us on, doesn't it?
it does, and I believe, as you said, the smile that you receive by giving, so then giving and receiving become one and the same, and then it's all light.
Yeah.
So I was happy, and I liked. It was interesting to hear you speak, and I liked very much her comment. So I felt like rejuvenated
Great lady.
by.
And this is the mother of this great lady over here. So,
I'm happy to meet
that's
you.
great. All right, so we better wrap it up or I'll get myself in trouble. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
Good.